Alrighty. Hello, everybody. Oh my goodness, I was up here talking to myself for about 5 minutes, wondering why I could not find the live stream to share out. You know why I couldn't find it? Because I did not press the buttons, but we are here. Hello, live stream viewers. Let's get all the happiness. Woo, y'all. It was so funny. I'm like, why is my live stream not working? Because I didn't press go live. Anyway. Happy Pride Month, everybody. Number one, tomorrow is Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth, everybody. Woohoo. It's a great day to be black and gay. I'm right in the middle of the nexus. It's probably Black Music Month too, or R&B Month too. It's a whole bunch of party going on celebrating me. Yay. Okay, so thank y'all for joining me today. Today we are going to be talking about, let me show you, boop. Verity Vox. Oh, I done. Hold on a second, friends. I got ahead of myself. Let me scooch on back. Boop, boop, boop. We are going to be talking about Verity Vox and the Curse of Foxfire by Don Martin. This is an amazing book. It is a YA fantasy book. It came out in 2026. In 2025. Hold on. My mask is crooked and now it's just throwing me off. It came out in 2025. And I'm so glad that it did. It's a wonderful, wonderful story. It takes place in the Appalachian Mountains, which is where Don is from. But I am getting ahead of myself. I'm just so happy that I figured out what was going on. Talk amongst yourself for a second. I'm going to share the live stream, and then we will get into discussing this amazing book. Okay. Y'all know I'm doing everything by myself. So I'm the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, all of it. And so sometimes that's why it seems a little chaotic. But as Verity Vox learned, you can't do everything all by yourself. You need some help. Anyway, let me say this let me type this real quick. Verity Vox and the Curse of IRE Fox. Okay. It is shared. Okay, let's get on with the business of fancy dancing. Okay, so I got my notes, so let's go. So this is the books we are talking about. It has won so many awards, but let's talk about Don Martin for a second real quick. I'm going to make this a little bit big so you can see him. Okay, so this is the author of our wonderful tale. Don Martin was born in Appalachia. Now he lives with his husband on the outskirts of Chicago. He lived on a horse farm with his husband, where he produces his inquisitive interview podcast, Head on Fire. So just a little bit about this amazing book. In only a year, it has been able to amass so many awards. It's an instant New York Times bestseller, an indie bestseller, a USA Today bestseller, and it was on the 2026 American Library Association Rainbow List title. Super, super amazing. And let's see, what else am I doing here? Some of the themes and tropes that we will be discussing today are Faustian bargains, the power for good, or using power for good versus evil, community, found family, integrity, teamwork, kindness, love, and friendship. Excuse me, y'all. All right. So let's see. Boop, 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 boop. No, we are not doing discussion time yet. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to make this small so you can see me. That is also not what I want to do, but that's okay, friends. Watch this. Okay, that's what I wanted to do. Boom. Okay, so let me just read the prologue so that we can set the stage, and then we can start joining in the discussion of the book. All right. Pardon me, y'all. So the book is also available as an audiobook and an ebook on Libby. So, prologue. A man comes to town. In the heart of a valley, at the basin of a mountain, there is a town you can only access by an old swinging bridge made of wood and rope. The town was built up by a coal mining company drawn to the area by the riches they thought they'd find underneath the soil. Once they extracted everything they could grab and then some, they moved on to other mines and other hills, leaving this one and its peoples behind. But they were not alone. For you see, the mining company had not been the only thing drawn to that mountain and the marvels lying in wait underneath. These mountains were old, very old. They were formed before all the oceans had settled into their places. They erupted from the ground before life took its first steps. They grazed up at the stars for eons before the first plant took root. All that age and time held something, or possibly held something back. All that digging around in the dirt drew attention to what had been locked away and the power it held. Many strange visitors came from the lands far beyond the horizon to make a new home in those Appalachian hills. Some had big teeth, some had big eyes. Some called your name in the dark, hoping to gobble you up. One of those things looked like the salesman wearing a slick striped suit, driving a red wagon. The salesman had been to many towns and many lands and called many names. Here he called himself Earl. He sold many practical things that brought a kind of ease and prosperity to the abandoned town. He only charged a penny each. Had the people been wiser, they would have asked how he could sell such fine things for so little. But when you have nothing to begin with, you don't ask inconvenient questions. Soon, though, the salesman offered other deals. Fair weather in exchange for your ability to see the color blue. A full head of hair for lyrics to your favorite songs. Your child's middle name might get you a healthy cow. He didn't just heal your livestock, he could heal you too. Your aching back and burning lungs from years toiling in the mine might be soothed by your ability to dive underwater or feel the heat of the sun in winter. This was all fine until winter came and a girl got sick and her father begged for a miracle. The cost was steep, but the man agreed to it. When the girl died anyway, and Earl still came to collect, well, that didn't sit right with the folks. They ran him out of town. He escaped into the hills, searching for the power held under the mountains to claim for himself, vowing revenge for the broken contracts. Revenge he got. One day, not long after the salesman's departure, their bridge was destroyed, trapping them in their valley. Any attempts to rebuild it found the wood crumbling to rot. Food spoiled. Animals got sick. The very land itself was cursed. Nothing grew, and what did was scarcely enough to keep people alive. Eventually, desperate souls ventured off into the mountain in search of food or freedom. The few who remained whispered that among the horrors living in the hills, they met Earl, who looked less and less like the salesman that had arrived in the red wagon. He called himself king of the mountain and still offered deals. Stale bread for your health, withered vegetables for your vitality. You wouldn't starve, but you wouldn't live either. This became the life of the people in the valley. No way in, no way out. A monster watching their every move, lying in wait to bargain away what little joy they had left. Days became weeks, became seasons, until those who'd been small children when the salesman arrived were now adults who had never known anything other than the purgatory in which they found themselves. It seemed like things would never change for the better, until a girl asked for help and a witch came. And that is how we begin this story. Oh my God, what amazing writing. So let's talk about this a little bit. And you'll see some of these tropes right here on the side. I say themes and tropes. I don't mean to be flippant about it, but that's just what they're called when a literary technique or device is used to tell a story. Okay. So Let's see. I'm trying to follow my script now. Okay. Let me make this a little bit bigger so you can see it versus me. That is not what I'm. Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is time to discuss. Sorry, y'all. Sorry. Okay. So this is the Appalachian mountain range in America. And in America, it covers about 13 different states. So let me see if I can tell you. Yeah, here we go. So it's going to cover Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, Maryland, Mississippi, New York, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia. So that is a long, long mountain range. And if you've never been deep, deep in the mountains before, or even in any part of the forest, you can get so deep in there, it gets dark because the trees are blotting out the sun, and it can really feel quite eerie, especially when it gets real quiet. You can't hear the birds or crickets or nothing. And it does feel like something is watching you in the forest. And I know that that can be an odd thing to say, but if you've never been deep in the forest, it's really hard to explain, let alone on a mountain deep in the forest. So you're secluded and it's very insular, which is a running thing throughout this story. So also there is in this, okay, so now that y'all have seen this, let me see if I can pop my head back in here. Hold on 1 second, friends. Let's see. What are we doing? No, we are not doing that. Let me make it smaller so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. Hey, look at me getting better at this. Okay, so for a long, long time, the history of this mountain range has been there's been cryptoids, stories of eerie things happening, magic. Cryptoids are things like Bigfoot or what's another one, y'all, like Mothman. I can't think of a ton of cryptoids off the top of my head, but those two you probably have heard of. So let me just to reiterate about this creepiness and the magicness. Let me just read the first few notes from the dust jacket. It says, "Welcome to Foxfire. The rules here are simple. Don't look into the trees. Don't whistle in the woods at night. Don't answer if you hear your name called. And remember everything once." So any country people will tell you those rules too. But especially in Appalachia, you do not, if you don't whistle. And sometimes the thing that's calling your name is a corvid, which is like a blue jay or crow or raven or anything like that. But you're not supposed to look too hard at trees because some things might move and you don't want them to know that you noticed them moving. Now, why am I bringing all of this up? I wanted to show you something else too. Y'all know about Pangea? Look at this. Pangea is, of course, the giant landmass that was here before any of us were. And if you look at the brown spots, that is the Appalachian Mountain Range. And it connects back when it was Pangea, it was called the Pangea Mountain Range. And now in all these, in the current places in Greenland and Africa and the British Isles and the Caledonian Mountains in America, the one thing that all these places have in common are the creepy cryptid stories, besides they share a mountain range. Part of the deal that is that this mountain range is very, 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 it's billions of years old. If you got a chance to read the book, you will have noticed that they kept referring to it as being older than some of the stars in the sky, older than a lot of the water or plants and things like that. And that's true. It's older than the rings on Saturn. Saturn's rings is only like 1 million or so years, and maybe a couple million. Maybe 3 or 6 million, somewhere around there, years old. And on top of that, y'all, Saturn's losing her rings. We won't get into all that. But anywho, that's what they're talking about. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is there are a lot of people who are cryptid hunters, or if you're into folk magic or you do any type of pagan practices, you will hear these rules are not unfamiliar to you. And a lot of people think that there is something that we just don't understand at our present time because these mountain ranges are billions of years old. So some people are saying they're like maybe megafauna. A megafauna, a good example would be like a giraffe or a moose. Those are megafauna. If you have never seen a moose up close and personal, baby, they are bigger than SUVs. They're bigger than buffaloes. They're huge. Well, are they bigger than buffaloes? Probably, especially if you count the rack. But even if you don't, I think they're definitely taller than buffaloes. And buffaloes are huge, like SUV size. So anyway, that is why this is so interesting and important. I think because I think more people should be writing stories about them Appalachian Mountains, more fantasy stories. And to be quite honest, Don Martin is doing it now. But also, what is that man's name? Andrew Joseph White. He grew up in the Shenandoah Valley, which is also in Appalachia, in West Virginia, and he writes a ton of books about that area. And like I said, if y'all know my family country is from all over the place. Besides Denver, it's also from Texas, and on our land in Texas, it's not even mountainous; it's just rural. But there are some areas you get so far back in there, you can't hear you can hear water running and something running behind you, probably a big giant hog or something else that you just don't want to meet up with. Anywho, I think I've made my case for the scene and setting the scene. I just thought it was really fun that he set the story in Appalachia, and that's probably because he's real familiar with it because that is where he's from. Let me see what else I keep up with my notes. Also, my time, y'all, because y'all know I like to jibber jabber. 23 minutes have already gone by, y'all. Okay. Okay, we've talked about that. Billionaires. Oh, okay. So now that we have done that, let me see. Where's the next slide? Let's talk about Verity. We'll get to that other slide in just a second. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm looking at this. Oh, I'm sorry. I did miss a few things. Another thing that I wanted to talk about too was Don has also written a book, and it's called, hold on a second, y'all. Inside of this book, inside Verity Fox, there's actual spells and magical folk magic practice inside of this book right here. So a lot of folks maybe don't realize this, but sometimes people who practice folk magic don't call it that. It's just stuff that everybody does, like that whole "don't whistle after dark," don't answer if your name is called. Those are folk magic practices. But also there are certain things that people do, like I'll use my family because y'all know I like to talk about my grannies any chance I get. They practice folk magic quite a bit. My paternal grandmother, I don't have the slides for them up. All you got to do is look at my face, and you're going to see Bertha Morrell looking dead at you, because that is basically my twin. Anybody who, if you're a woman and they say you look like your daddy, you look like your grandma. I promise you, yes, you look like your daddy, but it's because he looks like his mama. So if you grew up hearing all the time, "Oh my God, you look like your daddy," you look like your paternal grandma. Anywho, so she practiced a lot of hoodoo, and which is a folk magic for Black Americans. Happy Juneteenth. And she would do things like we couldn't lay our purses on the ground because then all your money would drain out onto the floor. We couldn't leave onion skins on the floor because they would cause an argument. There was a horseshoe above the house for good luck. All the windowsills and the porches was painted paint blue to keep bad spirits away. We didn't have a bottle tree at her house, but that is not unknown as well. So I bring that up to say this because a lot of times people are saying they wouldn't call it magic. They're just saying, "Oh, that's just stuff people do." Then you have other people who are out and out practicing, like my maternal great grandmother Rosetta Kellum. She was a hoodooist. She was a hoodoo. She was doing that and Lord knows what else. And she was very open about it. And I think that this is very interesting because I don't know if Don meant to do this or not, but Verity Fox, who we'll get to in a minute, is a witch in this story. She's a practicing witch. She goes from place to place once a year. She settles in a place. She helps those people for a year, and then she leaves. And she is openly practicing magic. She wears all black clothes. She's got a pointy hat. She even has a black cat familiar who may be a cat or not a cat. He be shape-shifting, and she rides around on a broom. But she also mentions in the book that everybody has a bit of cunning. Everybody has a bit of magic. Y'all see how this is crooked on my face? It is bothering me. But you know what else will bother me? If I got sick, if I caught the Rona, And I don't want it. I don't want the Rona. I don't want the rhinovirus. I don't want no cooties because my goodness, my lungs are doing as best as they can, and I don't want to get sick. Anywho, let me see. Oh, the reason why I was bringing that up is because Don we also have another book by him, and it's called The Dabbler's Guide to Witchcraft. It's under his pen name Firelight, Firelyte. And I don't know if he would call himself a witch or a practitioner or whatnot, or if he's just leaning back on his Appalachian roots. But I really like that because I was recognizing certain things. A lot of times people will use certain quotes from the Bible, like Psalms, that a lot of people use that to do different types of spells or divination. And that's all I'm going to say about that because I am a gatekeeper and I'm closing the gate now. Boom, closed. All right. Let's see. What do we need to talk about? So let's talk about Verity. So when we meet Verity, she is at the tail end of her year of helping out in Edna and Bruce's bakery. She's getting ready to leave to go to her next assignment, but she doesn't know what it is yet, and she's kind of getting worried because that's just not how the magic works. So she's leaving, and they are slowly forgetting her. That's what happens to witches in training, is they can only stay in 1 year in a place. They leave when they're 13, they leave their home and they go out and then they start practicing and training. And as the story progresses, Verity is kind of setting the stage for us. She's worked at a circus, she worked at a town, she did all kind of different things, just helping people. She does not get paid for it because she's a witch in training. So it's teaching her how to help people better. So anywho, if she doesn't leave, worse things can happen to her. I think it might be painful for her if she doesn't leave. But the people will not remember her when she's gone. They'll have like faint memories of like the people that she left at the bakery, Edna and Bruce. She left them a magic stove that will bake things. They just have to sing a little chant. And so they're not going to ever remember that Verity gave it to them. Bruce always thinks that Edna's aunt gave it to them because she collected curios. And Edna always thinks, am I saying that lady right? Yeah, Edna. She always thinks that Bruce won it at a fair. So that's kind of how the magic works. It's obscuring their Verity's memory, or not Verity, Verity's image from them. And I'm not quite sure why, and I don't think that we ever discussed it so much in the book, or it was ever discussed quite in detail. I might have forgotten if it was. Apologies. All right, so we've talked about Verity. Oh, one thing, let's talk about that. I noticed that Dawn was doing this, like Verity Vox. First of all, what is her name? It means truth voice, or voice of truth. And the way her magic comes out is she sings it. She has the power of words. And so she will sing different songs to mend things, like that song that she made for the bakery couple so that the oven would work. She can sing people's clothes back together, help find lost children, all kind of different things. And I've noticed that Dawn does what Marvel tends to do. Like, their heroes will have the initial of the first name and the last name are the same. So we've got Verity Vox. I can say Peter Parker, Bruce Banner. Who else? I was gonna say Lex Luthor, but that's a villain, and that's DC comic books. But anywho, I do believe that Don is a huge nerd, and I think he reads comic books. And I just noticed that in this novel, a lot of the heroes, or the people who are going to be main components to the story, have that double first initial name thing going on. Like Gilly Green. She is the woman who Verity, she's the first person Verity meets in Firefox when she lands in there, and she is the general store owner. It's Gilly Green's General Goods Store. There's a whole bunch of alliteration there. Then there's Tacita Terry and her mother Teresa Terry. And then there's the Miller, May Miller, and I don't forgot her. I think the son and the father's name don't match up like that. And I'm like, y'all ain't that important to the story. And wasn't. They was there to drive the plot along. Anywho, I spent enough time on that. I just thought it was really interesting how he wove those two together. Now, Firefox is based off a real town in West Virginia. This is the bridge in that town that got washed away in real life. The town is called, it's in Vulcan, West Virginia. Let me read the little thing so I can be succinct in my speech. Let's see. These are my notes. I'm just trying to. Okay. Vulcan lacked a road connection to the rest of West Virginia and relied on a swinging bridge across the Tug Fork to Kentucky Route 194. And if you look in the background there, you can see that there is some trains and a way to the town. The bridge was too narrow for vehicular traffic and had deteriorated by the early 1970s with missing boards. In 1974-ish, 75, the bridge had completely collapsed due to wood rot, and the mayor of Vulcan, whose name was John Robinette, had unsuccessfully lobbied both the state and federal governments to replace it. Because of a lack of action in 1977, the self-appointed mayor of Vulcan, John Robinette, requested foreign aid from the Soviet Union and East Germany to replace the town's bridge. Soviet journalist Iona Andronov visited Vulcan on December 17, 1977, to meet with Robinette and survey the problem. Within an hour of his visit, reporters were told that the state would replace the bridge. The West Virginia legislature provided $1.3 million in funding to replace the bridge. The replacement was opened in 1980. So it took them around 10 years to get it done, but they did. And let me make this bigger so you can see the new bridge, which is still standing today. So here's the old rickety-crickety bridge. Now you can see them trains back there in that little narrow strip of land that they had to get by. This is the new bridge right here. Oh, I didn't mean to do that, friend. That's the new bridge right there. Now, I don't know about you, but I am not getting on no rickety-crickety bridge. No, thank you. And they shouldn't have had to trick the government into building this bridge, but also that is the Faustian deals. And I think that was another impetus for the story and how these people were forced into making a deal with the devil. That's what a Faustian bargain is, by the way, y'all. If you haven't read the tale of Faust, saw a demon, Mephistopheles, pops up, and Faust is like, I want to have all the knowledge. Sometimes you'll hear it as, I want to be the first person to have printing press or the power of the word or something like that. And he trades it, but you never make a deal with the devil because it always twists you up and gets you. You do not end up getting what you bargained for. But sometimes, like in the town of Firefox, if the people are given the choice between clean water and dirty water, of course they'll pick the clean water. But if all they have is dirty water to drink, you need water to survive, they're going to drink the dirty water. So I really thought that was really fascinating at how he took a real live issue and made a story out of it. Because if you think about it, these people's bridge have been rickety-crickety for a long, long time. And it finally washed away in 1974. And it was till 6 years later that they had a reliable transportation in and out. My goodness, that is just, yeah. I have so much to say, but I won't say it. I won't. Okay, so now we know about Verity. We know that she is coming to the town. Oh, she's coming to the town because Tacita Terry asked her to. Tacita Terry is one of those people who has a bit of conjure in her. And her her grandmother told her, if you write a leaf or write a wish on a leaf and toss it to the wind, a witch will answer it. And sure enough, and that's because Tacita has a bit of magic in her, like we all do. And it is Verity Vox's job to be of assistance where she can be. Now, Earl is some kind of weird, I'm going to say demon. Some kind of weird demon. He done traded himself because he is trying to get to the entrance to the gods, the Appalachian gods in the mountain, in the coal mine, like we were talking about in the prologue. All that digging around woke something up. If you ever read Lord of the Rings or even just watched the movie with whatever his name was, Jackson, I can't remember his first name, who wrote it, or not wrote it, but directed the movie, then you'll remember that part when they're all down in the mine taking that shortcut through the old dwarving mines, and one of them tooks woke up a demon or whatever. That's basically what happened here too. Again, this is why I think Don Martin might be one of the biggest nerds, is because I can see little references or inspiration to different things. And I think he did such a phenomenal job of using those things as inspiration, but not letting it take over the story, if that makes any sense. Also, I really like how this book kind of reminds me of Kiki's Delivery Service. If you've ever seen that Miyazaki film, Kiki's Delivery Service is about a witch who helps out for free and lives somewhere for a year. She too has a black familiar, a black cat who is a familiar. Now hers is not as dynamic as Jack Be Nimble. That's his name, Jack Be Nimble, Jack Be Quick. Again, a little nursery rhyme, words, songs. Jack is I want to say a chameleon, or what's that? I don't want to say a chimera because that's not what he is, but he can turn. A shapeshifter. That's what I'm trying to say. He's a shapeshifter. The other thing that I really liked about this book, which leads me to think that Don might be practicing some sort of pagan religion, folk magic or something, is he talks about the different types of magic. There is a scene when Verity is making friends and connections with the people in town, and she's talking to Miss Miller. They own a dairy farm, and she talks about the magic of gossip, and she leaning in and asking the right question to spill forth all the answers. She also talks about the magic of, excuse me, 1 second. I'm sorry, I know that's gross. I have allergies. She talks about the magic of parting ways magic, how it creates a liminal space, a space in between. It's kind of like, what did that jazz musician, I want to say it was not Dizzy Gillespie, not Cab Calloway, but somebody was talking about to listen between, I think it might have been Sun Ra. But don't listen to the notes, listen to the space between the notes. Anywho, that he talks about the parting ways magic that creates a liminal space, gossip magic, word magic, sung or spoken through tacita, and then also the magic of contracts, which is a binding type of magic. And if somebody breaks that, either with the person who, if either person in the contract breaks it, then you own them. So anywho, I loved all of that. It's a very good world base of magic, and it's a good way to explain how it came about. Let me see what else. So yeah, basically, just to get back to my point, is that John Robinette had to outsmart a very powerful entity and play it against another one. Basically, how Earl got played against the gods in the mountain in the story. Again, I really thought that was very interesting. I liked how it was carried out. I thought that Don did a very good job doing that. Let's see. Ooh, 40 minutes. Okay. So we're going to wrap it up in just a few minutes. Let me see if I can scooch it on along. So anywho, Verity Vox gets to the town. I don't talk a lot. Sorry, y'all. She gets to the town. She sees that these people cannot get out, so she tries to help them. Now, what she does when she gets there is she is so used to people just accepting witches, she cannot understand why these people do not like her. So she has to slowly win the people's trust. It reminds me very much of Pueblo, right down to the steel company. Y'all remember in the 80s how everybody was working over at Airzats or Airvats or something like that. And now Steel City is no more because they took what they needed and now they're gone and nobody works at that mine. Maybe one or two, I say mill, it's a steel mill. Nobody's over at that mill. If they are, it's just for security to keep you from stumbling around and hurting yourself. Also, the Pueblos, people of Pueblo, tend to be a very insular community. Now, we're not cut off from the rest of the Colorado, but economically, we are not as developed as the rest of Colorado for a town this size. Yes, we could argue that smaller towns are not as developed either, but that's the point. They're smaller. Pueblo is a good size town. There's 100,000 people here plus, and we don't have the same development as some of the other cities like Springs or Fountain, or I think they have a higher tax bracket than us. Anywho, the point is this: is that when you are an insular community, you begin to behave in insular ways. So nobody trusted Verity trusted her right out off the bat like she had come accustomed to. Her whole journey was learning to trust herself and knowing and learning that magic cannot solve everything. So she has to gain the people's trust. The reason why I'm pointing that out is there is another witch who I know who came to a town that rhymes with Eblo, and the witch's name rhymes with Buvley, and she got green hair currently. And it took her a while to figure out the rhythm of Pueblo. But once she did, baby, I'm in now. Let me quit speaking in metaphor. I'm talking about me. And so this book reminds me a lot of Pueblo, and I can understand why, once you learn about Pueblo's history and how things have played out for it, I understand why people in Pueblo are a bit standoffish. I understand why, just because you come to town and you think you're finna help people, and why aren't they accepting you? Because they don't trust you. They don't have any reason to trust you, so you got to give them a reason. And that's what Verity did. She went around finding these cursed objects that people had traded to Earl, and they ended up at Gilly's store. She took the curse off of them, fixed them, mended them, and gave them back. And it got to the point to where people, because Verity is sleeping in the back room of Gilly's shop because she don't have nowhere else to stay. And people start bringing their problems to her. And one of the people is Teresa Terry. She's looking for Tacita. Tacita has wanted to leave Firefox since she was forever, since she was a little baby, but she can't because of the curse. So Verity is going to go and look for her. And she does. She finds her on the outskirts in an old abandoned town, stuck in a home, in the chimney of a home. She makes a deal with, she gets her out. She ends up making a deal with the devil, i.e. Earl. Earl's gotta die, to get the town help so that they can live and be prosperous like everyone else. It turns out that Earl has all these deals that he's traded. Let me see if I can find the quote, because I ripped off that little I've ripped off the little piece of paper that I had to read something. Because part of the curse in the town is that, let me just read it real quick. They're talking about how the things that you see moving around in the shadow, the goats that are not goats. They look like goats, but they're not quite goats. There's something supernatural. That's what they're alluding to. Okay, so we're just going to go past that. Let me see. We've talked about, I forgot. So one of the things is in this story is that Verity represents the good and Earl represents evil. You can see that by how they both wield the power that they have. The way Earl wields his power is he takes from people to build himself up, and Verity gives of herself, gives from her power to build people up. And that's why Earl is has slowly turned into something else. There's bits of him that are gnarled. He's like a Frankenstein of evil deals and deeds and contract magic and binding magic that have been twisted and turned and have gone wrong. And so That's why he's always hungry and taking. He's like a hungry ghost that will never be fulfilled because he wants power over and over again. And Verity does end up giving him some of her power because she's trying to help Firefox. And what she learns in the end, because we are coming to the end of our time of the live stream, is that magic cannot cure everything. Look at y'all. Y'all not gonna, oh, look, you can see it a little bit. Y'all not gonna be able to. I'm redoing my braids, y'all, and they're gonna be a different color. I'm doing it for summer solstice. Happy summer solstice. It's on the 21st. That's Sunday. Anywho, she learns that magic cannot solve everything, but there is a type of magic in community. There is a type of magic in found family. And that is, in the end, what sets her free and helps her to get her magic back. But her and Tacita become a couple and they go off on adventures together. Now, that's not in the book, that other part. That's probably going to be in Verity Vox too, because the book was so good. It was done so well that there is going to be another Verity Vox. Let me see if I can tell y'all when it's coming out. There might have been some other stuff. Oldness of the Mountain that I wanted to talk about. Verity finds out Tacita's the one who summoned her. I already told you guys that. Verity explains how Firefox came to be. Okay, so she's talking about, let me just read this real quick. So in this part of the book, I'm on page 185. It's so Verity is explaining to Tacita the different types of magic and how they come about and what type of magic Earl has, which is the binding magic. She says it's something we don't do, too dangerous, too many potential awful outcomes. And so Tacita asks her, well, how's that? And so this is what I'm about to read. Verity is explaining to Tacita how. You make a deal with your neighbor. Say you've got chickens and they have goats. You'll give them eggs if they'll give you milk. So say one day you decide you want to keep your eggs for yourself. So you hide them, but you keep taking the milk. If a normal person caught you reneging on your end of the bargain, they just stop giving you milk. Maybe they tell everyone you're a real bad person. But if the deal is a contract spell, if it is binding magic, the moment you act outside the terms, the other person basically owns you, or wherever it is you bargain with. If that person is a skilled magician who is being made even stronger by tapping into some greater energy, that's how you get Foxfire. And so what had been happening is Earl had been dibbling and dabbling in the mountain, and he found the source of some greater energy, which was the opening of the mind, because there was something beneath the mind that had been there since time immemorial. And so that's how come he was so powerful. That's how come he was so withered away and made of so many different amalgamations. Anywho, let me take that because we talked about the oldness of the mountain already and those mountains because I find that fascinating. I think that might be it. Yeah, I hope that I've given you enough impetus to make this book sound super interesting, because it is. Oh, I was going to look up when the next book was coming out. I was trying not to spoil too much of it. Also, I am running out of time. I can only talk for so long before my voice gives out. But it's a wonderful YA book. I would put it in the fantasy / maybe horror. Oh, wait. What is this little thing? Maybe I forgot to tell y'all something. Hold on. Oh, Earl was just talking about how he was searching for the old gods because he wants those powers. He's been calling himself the king of the mountain. And I do want to tell you how Earl meets his demise. But more importantly, you need to read the book, y'all. We have a copy of the book. We have e-audio, we have e-book, and then we have about 4 or 5 print copies as well. I feel like we might have 5. Hold on. Let's see if I can find Verity Vox sequel. It says, ooh, minute. Well, let me see this because it's something on Threads and I don't know what that means. Okay, so it says, oh, there is going to be one. It is Verity Vox and the Veil of Death. Death. The sequel to the New York Times best-selling novel Verity Vox and the Curse of Foxfire. After the coal mining company threatens to blow up the mountain surrounding Foxfire, Verity Vox, her friends, and her must return to prevent the release of the ancient entity lurking below the hills and hollers. Oh my gosh. It's got to be released in March of 2027. So y'all got a couple of years. That's amazing. So there is some entity and in the book. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but Verity talks to the entity, and the entity does what it does with Earl. Earl. I want to say it like Mr. from The Color Purple. Oh, stanky Earl. Hurting people and making crooked deals, but that's what you get. That's what you get. So anyway, that book is going to be coming out in 2027. I'm super excited. In the meantime, you can also read Don's book called The Dabbler's Guide to Magic. It is under his, or is it witchcraft? Hold on a second, friends. The Dabbler's Guide to Witchcraft. It's under his pen name, Firelight, Lyte. So we've discussed a whole bunch of stuff. Let me just also point this out. If you enjoyed this book or just my brief synopsis of it, here are some more books that you can check out from the library that you also might enjoy. Of course, Kiki's Delivery Service by Eiko Kanado, Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones, Plain Jane and the Mermaid by Vera Brosgol. I cannot say that. Brosgol. I'm sorry, Vera. And of course, Ophi's Ghost by Justina Ireland. Y'all know if I'm not gonna mention my granny, I'm gonna bring up Justina Ireland. I love her writing. She is a phenomenal writer. All of these books deal with young women who have to fight powers bigger than themselves, and they do it through magic. So if you are into that kind of thing, then this is where you can come to check out some books and read more. Also, well, we're still doing summer reading. And this year, y'all, we are doing summer reading all the way through August. Hallelujah, hallelujah. So you can come in and you can get boards from 0 to 8 is a different board. And then there's another board from 9 to 18. We have, every time you turn in a board, you get toys and snacks and a book. Well, at the beginning of the month, you get a book for you to keep yourself, but you get charms, you get different coupons to all kind of places. You can get in the pool for free. You can go and watch a show at Steel City Theater, or get lessons to learn how acting lessons. You can go for rides at the park, on the train, in City Park, all kind of fun things. We have snacks here at Lamb. We also have me here at Lamb. We'd love for you to continue reading, to continue exploring stories throughout the summer, so that when you go back to school, your brain is like ready to go. But also, really, y'all, reading is fun. There's so many ways to learn about different people through books and different experiences, even if you've never had them before. Verity Vox reminded me so much of Pueblo. I was just like, oh my gosh, this reminds me of Pueblo. Even though Pueblo is very huge, I could still relate to this insular town in rural West Virginia Appalachian Mountain Range. So, because we live in the valley, it's hot as heck here. So maybe there is a demon under here. I don't know, child. Let me not say that, because I live here. I don't want to be dealing with that. But anywho, I hope y'all enjoyed the book and the book discussion. Next month, our July book is going to be The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. We are going to be here on July 16th at 4 p.m. Please come by. And first of all, I'm going to turn this book in so you can check it out. And then we also have the Buffalo Hunter. It's about a vampire. It's a Blackfoot vampire who goes after the people who are killing buffaloes. He hunts them. So the buffalo hunters are getting hunted by a vampire, and he's telling his whole story as to why he did it. And I love a good revenge story, honey. He finna get revenge on all them colonizers who came over and thought that they was gonna get away with murder. They gotta pay. They gotta pay. And the Buffalo Hunter's gonna hunt them down. I haven't read the book yet, so I don't know if that's how it's gonna go, but I hope so. Anywho, ooh, Lord John, I'm in the basement, all kind of stuff. Ooh, what happened? Oh no, I'm blue now. I don't like that. Y'all, I done did something. Anywho, that must be my cue. It is time to go. Thank you for joining me. I will see you next month on the 16th of July so we can talk about The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. Talk to y'all later. Let me get out of here, child. What did I do? Oh, hey, I'm back. I'll see you guys later. Bye. Well, I thought I was finna say bye, child. Let me see what I can do. Okay, now I'm really saying bye. Okay, see y'all later. Bye.